Welcome to Horror Year, where every story is a journey into the unknown. If you're brave enough to face your darkest fears and uncover the most chilling tales, you've come to the right place. So, dim the lights, turn up the volume, and subscribe to Horror Year. Your journey into terror begins now. When a long period, I went to my grandmother's house at night as usual, and I requested her to tell horror stories. She initially refused because I would feel terrified, but when I prodded her, she finally consented to tell one about something that had happened to her while she was in the hospital. My grandmother had to stay in the hospital for the following week in order to receive treatment after being admitted for surgery. Day 1. She was unconscious from the anesthesia's effects, but later that evening, she could not open her eyes because she felt someone was touching her hair next to her. When she awoke the following morning, she reported seeing a dwarf guy standing next to her. She questioned him about his identity and the reason for his presence. He responded saying that his family didn't know he was dead, but that he was killed by his distant relatives because he had refused to give them money. The man abruptly left to watch my mother have breakfast, stood in the room's corner and watched them converse while crying. He did the same thing when the doctors arrived for a normal checkup. When my mother went to sleep at night, he would reappear and begin talking to me. He begged me to inform his family about his passing, and when I scared him away, he would return and stand in the corner. My mother wouldn't even get terrified if Granny told her this. Every day, Granny would see that man in her ward who would go off by himself in hopes of finding a member of his family, only to be disappointed to find none. Granny could not see him suffer. Therefore, she felt that he did not have any happiness. She considered notifying the physicians about this, but she said nothing, because she knew that no one would believe her. Ness, both during his life and in death, and neither of them had a fitting conclusion. She didn't see the man after that day. After telling a nurse about her experiences over the previous 4 days, the nurse surprised her by telling her that his family had come to pick up his body yesterday, and adding that she believed Granny since she had also gone through a lot of similar awful experiences. Later that day, after recuperating, Grandmother was released from the hospital. As she was leaving, she felt somewhat satisfied. She grinned and began telling the first story I requested her to relate, then others. When I was returning from the farm to the home one evening, it was becoming late, maybe 9:30. I noticed a woman in the backyard who was silent and still. I asked her numerous times who she was, but she only waved her sari palu and remained silent. Your grandfather drew me in right away and told me they would go to bed, and he would explain everything in the morning. When I questioned him about the woman the following morning, he said that she was the one who had been employed as a maid at a nearby home, but that she had committed suicide the day before. The cause of her death is still unknown. My friend had also seen her and told me about it. He had advised me to use the front door going forward. This narrative described her first terrible encounter, which happened at her in-laws' house. When I went to my in-laws' house the night following my marriage, while we were all sitting and chatting, there was an unexpected power outage, which was common in the area, and my 18-year-old mother was secretly terrified. She felt like someone was going toward her with a lantern, when she suddenly saw a lantern moving in the darkness. But as the light got closer, she realized it was simply a lamp moving and no one was there. My mother-in-law then motioned for everyone to enter before shutting the door. When I interrupted her by saying that I had just noticed the lantern moving, she requested me to eat dinner and go to bed so she could explain the situation later. I waited for the dawn to rise soon so I could ask my mother-in-law about it, because I was afraid and could not sleep that night because I kept thinking about it. I was excited to see my mother-in-law the following day and asked her what had happened. She smiled and told me that a month earlier, a tiger had escaped from a nearby forest at night. A woman who had been to town was returning home late at night in the dark when she did not see the tiger, and the tiger attacked her, killing her. Ever since then, people have told me that the same woman with the lantern walks the street without hurting anyone. Some claim that she doesn't bother folks as they walk around the corner. My panic vanished upon hearing this, and I felt sorry for her. My mother-in-law always told me to go inside when I tried to sneak out at night, and when we moved into our new home 2 years later, I had no such experiences. She wanted me to go to bed at 11:30 that night, but I requested her to hear the last story because I was afraid I wouldn't be ready to sleep. She heard about this one by chance from her sister-in-law. When my granny's sister-in-law heard a young child sobbing outside her home one night, she peered out the window and saw the child crawling behind a car tire. When the child noticed my sister-in-law, it vanished and the child curled up tight in fright. When she woke up the following morning, she told her husband about it. That evening, even he noticed the same thing and realized it was a soul. He advised her not to open the window and that they should move soon. The following day, she brought up this subject with her neighbor, who advised her not to panic because the family had all perished in an accident. Only the youngster had survived, and even he had passed away after 2 days. No one dared to acquire this property and car. Some of their relatives left the car here and went. We've all watched the infant cry at night since that day. Within a year, as the days went by, so did the noise level. At last, I was both afraid and tired. Granny smiled and said she would carry on with the stories the following day. I said her good night and turned in for the night. And that brings us to the end of today's delightful story. I really hope it had you on the edge of your seat. If you liked this story, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. It means a lot to me. And if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. There's always an exciting surprise waiting just around the corner, and you won't want to miss it. Do you have a spooky story to share or a fun idea for our next tale? Feel free to share in the comments below. I'm really curious to know what gives you the creeps the most. And as always, take care, keep exploring. And remember, sometimes the most chilling tales are the ones left untold. Catch you in the next one, if you're up for it.